This video it's going to be the weekly forecast for next week. Starting off on the monthly chart, we can see that price has traded into the wick of the previous month. At the same time, we can also see that we have retraced into this bullish fair value gap for ES, and this down close candle, which is the order block, bullish order block for NQ. Dropping into the weekly time frame, right here we have a very clear SMT, rejection block, rejection block. This is considered SMT. For the past 2 weeks, we have been range bound within this high and this low, similar to NQ. I would consider last 2 weeks to be high resistance liquidity runs. However, I think that right now it is pretty clear where we are heading based on the daily chart. I believe next week we will attack these highs and all-time highs for ES and this fair value gap on the daily for NQ. Whether or not we form SMT on the highs when comparing between ES and NQ remains to be seen. Also, do keep in mind that we are going to have a switch of contracts on the 17th to 18th of September. So right now we are in this September contract. I'm gonna use ES as an example, and the next contract would be the December contract. So if you look at the price here, it's different. If we move back into the continuous chart contract, right now we are around 20 points ahead of this continuous price contract. So in the case if it remains the same, we would create this gap here, similar to how it was for the last contract switch. And if we have a gap higher, it would be much more easier for price to trade back into the gap before looking for any other higher objectives. But anyways, above this high, it would be all-time highs, so there is technically no objectives for ES. If you look at the NQ continuous contract and the December contract, we are ahead about 200 points. So naturally you're going to expect a larger gap if we don't close up from now till 17 or 18 of September. During contract switches, the week that it happens tends to be low probability, so I wouldn't try to force anything next week, and I am most probably going to miss the run into the all-time highs for the continuous contract and the run for NQ into the daily fair value gap. I'm probably going to miss it because at the same time on Wednesday we have FOMC. So there's a lot of things stepped up together to make it very untradeable on the short term, or should I say on low time frames, unless you're playing it on the swing. I wouldn't say swing because you would be holding for days, unless you're playing it on like the position trades, like you trade it off the daily and the weekly. You're probably not going to get the move into the objectives that I have highlighted. At what point in time was the bearish idea into this lows it validated last week? It would be when NQ trades above this fair value gap, this swing high, and it has closed above consequent encroachment of this bearish fair value gap. Because in a case, if this is like a high resistance liquidity run, after taking out this high, you would need to see immediate displacement lower if we are looking for the lows down here, but it did not. So at the end of Wednesday's candle, which is Wednesday's close, the whole bearish narrative idea is invalidated. So right now we are back to square one 2 weeks ago, when I was looking for this objective here and all-time highs for ES. And this pretty much sums up the weekly forecast video for this week, for next week. I hope you find this insightful, and I'll talk to you again. Good luck trading, stay safe. For next week, lower your risk, because it is going to be, in my opinion, a difficult week to trade, similar to this week and probably even last week. On the lower time frames, there were a lot of high resistance liquidity runs. If you have been watching the markets for the past 2 weeks, you would have noticed. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I will end the video here. If you have any questions, do leave them in the comments section down below. If you find any value in this, do leave a like. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again.